Hi, Mark. Here, Monday, May the 18th, going on 9:30 a.m. Eastern. US session now well underway and going into the afternoon portion of the European session. Let's have a look at the US dollar, and you definitely see the turnaround to start the new week. The red candlestick selling US dollar after the strong run up last week, right up through Friday, gapped higher to open this week, but so far, sellers certainly in control. I've got resistance at 99.32. I've got support at 98.88. We'll see whether the sell-off does continue through the US session and sellers are able to add to what they've started and perhaps even get to test Friday's low of 98.83. Or if we do see a turnaround, US dollar buyers step in, bounce up off the support level and look back up to the above 99, back up to the 99.32. But certainly weak US dollar to start the new trading week. Let's have a look at the majors. Euro against the US dollar. There you see the turnaround. US dollar giving up the gains from last week, certainly from Friday, buying euro, selling US dollars, what we're seeing to start today's US session. I've got support at 116.07. I've got resistance at 116.57. We'll see if buyers of euro, sellers of US continue with this theme through the US session, or if we get a turnaround from weak to strong US dollar like we did have last week, and sellers step in and look back down below the 116 or back to the 116 support area. Pound against the US is very similar pattern. You can see that strong downtrend, selling pound, buying US dollar, strong US dollar like we had last week. Today, turnaround, reversal, buying pound, selling US dollar. I've got support at 133 and I've got resistance so far at 134.04, already a 100 pip range. We'll see whether buyers of pound, sellers of the US can maintain around this area, or if we're going to get a turnaround and US dollar buyers step in and look to bounce down off this resistance, looking back down at the 133. US dollar against the yen. A little bit of a different picture here. Red candlestick so far, that's selling US, buying yen. So weak US dollar, same as we've seen on the other majors, but not to the same extent. Still, if you have a look, even though it's a red candlestick, I've got a higher high and a higher low. I've got support at 158.58. I've got support at 159.06. We'll see if US dollar weakness does continue and if sellers can add to the red candlestick and break below this 158.58 support level, this red candlestick to continue. Or if we get a turnaround from weak to strong US dollar, buyers do step in and look back up at the 159 resistance. US dollar against the Canadian, and also strong US the whole of last week. There's the uptrend. There's the turnaround today. I've got resistance at 137.62. I've got support at 137.32. So far, sellers in control, selling US, buying Canadian, as we've seen weak US dollar across the board with the majors, seeing the same thing here with the Canadian. We'll see if this can continue. If sellers can test break below this 137.32 support, or if we get a turnaround, US dollar buyers do step in and look to bounce up off this level of this area and look back up above or to test the 137.62. So we're seeing from strong US dollar, which certainly was the pattern and the theme last week to start the new trading week, a turnaround. We're seeing weak US dollar. We're seeing it on the index and against all the majors, less so against the yen, but certainly across the board, we are seeing weak US dollar to start the new trading week. Let's see if that does continue. Resistance and support levels we have in, and they're all being tested right now in line with weak US dollar. Long way to go in the US session. Good trading, and I'll see you at the end of the day.